tried to make this video a couple times today, and it didn't really go so well. Partly because I was driving at the time, and I probably should have just been paying attention to the road. If you'll pardon me, I'm going to get in the refrigerator real quick and get a Dr. Pepper. Okay. Delicious cigar, a nice Dr. Pepper. I am, for those of you who would like to know, excuse me, I'm smoking a handmade Gran Habano. I don't know if you can see that or not. Corojo number 5. Okay. I bought these probably about 6 months ago, and I'm still broke at this point, very broke at this point. So my last little jaunt through the house, I grabbed what I had left. Brought them out here on the truck, because if I'm going to be out here for months on end trying to catch up, I'm at least going to enjoy a cigar. Probably every night until I run out. Hopefully by then I have money to replace the ones that I've used up. But anyway, I digress. Alright. Yeah, I know, I'm on here making a video. Where have you been, Big Mike? Like, what have you been doing? Like, what should we know about you? And I made a video yesterday talking about what's been going on and everything, and I was going to upload it last night. I forgot because I went to sleep instead. And then today, I came up with a better idea for what I could do instead of what I did do last night. So, I think I'm going to try something a little different. Maybe going forward, I'm not sure. But stand by. Anyway, we're not going to talk about any of that right now. What we are going to talk about is, hold on just a second. The notice of intent by the FMCSA. Okay, speed limiters notice of intent. I'm going to read this to you, and probably put the website down here so you can go find it. Basically, if you Google FMCSA speed limiters notice of intent, you'll find it. Okay, stand by. The National Roadway Safety Strategy identified speed as a significant factor in fatal crashes and speed management as a primary tool to reduce serious injuries and fatalities. FMCSA understands operating at a safe speed is essential for safe operations and acknowledges the commercial motor vehicle, CMV, industry currently leverages this technology to increase driver and public safety. Most original equipment manufacturers have been installing electronic engine control units, or ECUs, in CMVs since 2003. The vast majority of CMVs in operation today are equipped with ECUs. FMCSA is moving forward with this rulemaking because of concerns about the number of commercial motor vehicle crashes and fatalities traveling at high speeds. In 2019, there were 860 fatal crashes in areas with posted speed limits of 70 to 75 miles per hour. 24 fatal crashes in areas with posted speed limits between 80 to 85 miles per hour. Approximately 20% of fatal crashes occur in areas with posted speed limits in these ranges. The rule will help reduce crashes and save lives on our nation's roadways. The Notice of Intent announces FMCSA's commitment to proceed with a supplemental rulemaking proposal and request public comments on the issue. FMCSA is pursuing a carrier-based approach rather than the OEM approach used in the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration's and FMCSA's jointly issued Notice of Proposed Rulemaking published in September 2016. The forthcoming rulemaking, if adopted, would impose speed limitations on certain commercial motor vehicles that operate in interstate commerce. The NOI is not proposing, or Notice of Intent, is not proposing a maximum speed, nor does it propose regulatory text or estimates of the cost of or safety benefits. FMCSA is requesting public comments on the programming or adjustments of ECUs that could be made to impose speed limits on commercial motor vehicles to support the preparation of a supplemental notice of proposed rulemaking. So, there's a couple of things I want to hit upon, and we're gonna talk about a few things. This might be kind of a long video, and the points I want to make. First point is FMCSA and their notice of intent as far as speed limiters are concerned, and I want to discuss the lack of info that they're sharing with us at this point as far as their notice of intent. Okay. The second point is the environment created by the FMCSA's regulations over the last 12 years or so, and how it impacts the operating environment that most drivers operate now operate in now. And third point I want to talk about is this kind of safety equipment that's being put on trucks nowadays, and I really think that it's not helping, it's actually hurting the industry. So, let's go back to the notice of intent. I want to discuss a few key points about the notice of intent. So it starts out with pretty clearly, the National Roadway Safety Strategy identified speed as a significant factor in fatal crashes and speed management as a primary tool to reduce serious injuries and fatalities. Okay, this is completely true. The faster you go, the harder you hit the wall. That's a truth, okay? The faster you go, the easier it is for your truck or car or motorcycle or train or airplane or whatever it is to come apart and to leave you in a fatal condition, okay? Let me see. Speed management is a primary tool to reduce serious injuries and fatalities. Okay, slowing down will ultimately always put you in a safer position versus going faster. So if I'm going 130 miles an hour in a 94 Mercedes-Benz, not that I did, but versus going 60 miles an hour in a 94 Mercedes-Benz, I'm probably more likely to die at 130 miles an hour than I am at 60 miles an hour. It's common sense. So that's just common sense, okay? The FMCSA understands operating at a safe speed is essential for safe operations, acknowledges the commercial motor vehicle industry currently leverages this technology to increase driver and public safety. No. The commercial motor vehicle industry does not currently leverage it to increase driver and public safety. What they do with it, they claim that it's for driver and public safety. What it really is for is to reduce the cost of fuel and to basically make more money. It's a profit-based thing. It's always profit-based. Anytime a corporation does something, it's for safety, it's usually there's another benefit to it, okay? Because the fact of the matter is, hold on, smoke. By the way, I'm going to puff on this every now and then. Every time I do, I'm going to try to remember to say smoke. The fact of the matter is that you move freight faster by going faster, but what we are doing is we're in this industry, we're bringing in people that are not necessarily trained to really handle a vehicle of this size and this weight, okay? Or they maybe handle it in a more nonchalant fashion than they should. By reducing the amount of speed for a new driver moving freight, you do actually increase his chances of being safer for him and the public, but at the same time, you increase your fuel economy, which gives you more profit as a big carrier. So remember, that's always, they're going to say safety, but there's always a little bit of the other involved, okay? Most original equipment manufacturers have been installing electronic engine control. The vast majority of commercial vehicles they are equipped with ECUs. That is correct. My truck's equipped with an ECU. It was governed at 85 miles an hour when I got it from the dealership. It's now not governed at 85 miles an hour. It's governed at a much higher rate, but I don't ever use it at that because I use common sense when traveling in inclement weather or otherwise. Now, this is the part I really want to hit upon, okay? The FMCSA is moving forward with this rulemaking because of concerns about the number of commercial motor vehicle crashes and fatalities traveling at high speeds. Okay, that's kind of an opinion. They are concerned about the number of commercial motor vehicle crashes and fatalities traveling at high speeds. High speeds can be defined by two things. Either you yourself are setting a high speed in your head, and anything above that is, or you're setting a speed limit in your head, and anything above that is high speed. So we'll be using quotations on high speed from now on whenever we talk about it. Smoke. In 2019, there were 860 fatal crashes in areas with speed limits of 70 to 75 miles an hour, and 24 fatal crashes in areas with speed limits between 80 and 85 miles an hour. Okay, so let's discuss that. 860 fatal crashes in areas with speed limits of 70 to 75 miles per hour in 2019. All right. What they say specifically, and I'm going to read it to you because I think it's relevant. In 2019, there were 860 fatal crashes in areas with posted speed limits of 70 to 75 miles per hour 24 fatal crashes in areas with posted speed limits between 80 and 85 miles per hour. Approximately 20% of fatal crashes occur in areas with posted speed limits in these ranges. The rule will help reduce crashes and save lives on our nation's roadway. Okay, smoke. Oh, there's a real lack of information as far as that statement is concerned. All right? You're giving us the number of crashes. You're giving us the number of fatal crashes in 2019 in areas where the speed was 70 to 75 miles an hour, which was 860, and it was 24 fatal crashes in areas where the posted speed limits are between 80 and 85 miles an hour. There's not a whole lot of places. There's more places in the United States where the speed limit is 80 miles an hour. There's not a whole lot of places in the United States where the speed limit is 85 miles an hour. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure I only know of one area, and that's in Texas on a toll road going around Austin. And only certain parts of that are actually at 85 miles an hour. If there's an 85 mile an hour speed limit somewhere else in the United States, I'd be glad to hear about it. The problem is they're not giving us the rest of the information. A lot of these places that exist, the 80 mile an hour speed limits, the 70 to 75 mile an hour speed limits, all exist in areas where you can and do have a lot of inclement weather. Snow and ice and rain and wind and other things like that. And in cases where there's inclement weather going on, a speed limit of 70 miles an hour is in excess of what should be the safe speed at the time. Okay? And where it's 80 to 85 miles an hour, it's the same thing. 80 miles an hour is what? You get 80 miles an hour in Utah, you get it in Wyoming, you get it in Texas, out west, going towards El Paso. It's 75 in New Mexico and Arizona. In a lot of places, it's 75, I think, in parts of Colorado. Utah especially. Nevada, I think, is either 70 or 75. So, Texas is 70 to 75 in a lot of places. I mean, you have a lot of places. You go further east, it's not so much. But out west, where the inclement weather plays a bigger part in whether or not the accident is fatal, is that information is not being accounted into this little statement here. Now, you can go to another section of their website where it's like you have questions or whatever. And one of the questions is, why is the FMCSA pursuing the carrier-based rulemaking now? The National Roadway Safety Strategy identified speed as a significant factor in fatal crashes and speed management as a primary tool to reduce serious injuries and fatalities. The number of commercial motor vehicle crashes in which speed is listed as a contributing factor is unacceptable. A carrier-based approach could provide the opportunity to compel fleets that are not currently using speed limiters to slow down their commercial motor vehicles within a relatively short period of time. Okay, so part of the problem is you're not giving us enough information, FMCSA. You are giving us you're giving us a lot of information. You're giving us very little information is what you're doing. You're not bringing up whether or not the weather was a factor or what the weather was at the time. You're not giving us whether or not the vehicle that was involved with the fatal crash was caused by the guy driving that vehicle. Was it the original operator that caused his own fatal crash? Was that fatal crash caused by somebody else? And there's not a lot of information. We don't know what the weather was. We don't know who was at fault. We don't know if it was a preventable accident or an unpreventable accident. We have no idea. What we're being told, and it's very basic, and it's almost like they think we're stupid, and that is smoke. That is that there's been 860 fatal crashes in areas where the speed limit is 70 to 75 miles an hour. We don't know what the speed was of the truck traveling at that time, whether or not he was traveling at 70 or 75 miles an hour. 24 fatal crashes in an area where the speed limit was between 80 and 85 miles an hour. Again, how fast was he going? Was he going 65 and he had a fatal crash, but he happened to be in an area where the speed limit was 80 to 85 miles an hour? We don't know. This isn't information that they're giving us. They're just telling us that in these areas, these are where these accidents are occurring, and speed is a factor. And so it can be a factor in a lot of different cases. Was it in a curve? Again, weather, the environment, whatever it was. Did somebody jump in front of him? Was there an animal that got in front of him? Whatever it was. We don't have enough information. And to only give us basic numbers, 860 fatal crashes, 24 fatal crashes, that's not enough. Like, we need to know for certain that most of these vehicles, when they had the accident, were traveling at a high rate of speed, and whether or not the accident was preventable. Because if somebody enters a curve going 75 miles an hour and it's a 60 mile an hour curve and they end up going off the road, that's excessive speed for the curve, and it's the fault of the operator, not the fault of excessive speed. So, I'll say that speeding doesn't really kill. It's the misuse of speed that kills. That's my opinion. I'm somebody who likes to go fast, and my opinion is that the misuse of speed kills. Okay, and move on. Oh, I didn't say it, did I? Smoke. All right, so the second thing I want to talk about is the environment created by the FMCSA regulations. Okay, and the biggest thing I want to talk about is the ELD. Now, and the kind of environment that was created with the implementation of the ELD regulations. And, I don't disagree with the ELD. I think keeping track of truck drivers and where they're going and making sure they're not lying about how long they've been shut down or how long they've been on the side of the, how long they've been driving or whatever it is, I think that that's a necessary thing. But I think the way that the ELD works is really where the problem is. What you've done with the ELD is you have created an environment where most drivers feel rushed. I feel rushed by the ELD. I only have a certain number of hours to try to make money. And because of that, smoke. There have been times recently where I've been rushed, or I felt rushed. And so I was rushing. And I was probably driving a little fast for conditions a couple of times. However, that's part of the problem with the ELD. Now, there's been some relief given in that area with the additional use of the sleeper berth provision. And there's been some relief given as far as being able to use PC to get to a safe place or whatever and get parked for the night. However, it still creates an environment overall. The basic understanding of how an ELD works, which is the 14, 11, 10 set of rules or whatever, creates an environment where you feel rushed as far as your ELD is concerned. And I think that in general creates an issue with people going in excessive speed in conditions that are not good for excessive speed. And that's part of the problem as far as these accidents are concerned. So I would say to the FMCSA at this point that a better examination of how the ELD regulations work is probably necessary in order to kind of reduce the fatal crashes. Now, let me talk about the last point that I already know it's an 18-minute video. I spent a lot of time on the notice of intent. So, anyway, my final thing that I want to talk about is safety equipment. Okay, that's being put on these trucks nowadays, and the stuff that I'm going to talk about is the technology, the safety equipment that's technology based that they're putting on trucks. And about how that really, how do I want to say this? Smoke. It goes for more than just driving a truck. That's my opinion. You have automatic braking on trucks and cars nowadays. You have lane keep assist on trucks and cars nowadays. And you have the avoidance system on trucks and cars. There are some things that just work. Electronic mirrors, which are, two LCD screens on either side of the truck, or LED screens, or whatever they are, with little cameras. And that's more about reducing drag on the truck so that you get better fuel economy. Which better fuel economy is always good. However, if that's now a system that can fail, whereas my mirror isn't powered by anything other than the heated feature that it has. And so, unless I break this mirror, it will always work no matter what, and even when the power fails, my mirror will still work. So, if for some reason there's nothing that's going to keep the mirror from doing its job. A mirror is very basic, requires very little technology to work and everything. It just works. So, smoke. Automatic braking systems are something that takes the ability of the driver, it takes the skill of the driver away from being able to make a good decision. I've heard stories of people with automatic braking systems at big trucking companies that as they're coming up to a bridge, they're getting ready to go underneath the bridge, the automatic braking system senses that they're going to hit the bridge, which they're not, and immediately brakes the truck. Now, there's nothing you can do. The truck comes to a stop. The truck has made the decision that it needs to come to a stop. I've heard tales of times when the sensor on the front of the truck gets snow built up on it, and therefore senses that there's something in the way and brakes on and hits the brakes. And you get into heavy snow, you can't be stopping on a regular basis to wipe that sensor off to make sure that you don't have an accident. Or every 10 miles you got to stop and wipe it off. So either figure out a way to keep the sensor clean so it doesn't do it, or what you're getting, and what I've heard from drivers, is that I was in a really heavy snow and was the sensor got covered, and the truck sensed that I was going to hit something, and so it locked up the wheels on ice, and I ended up sliding terribly and into a ditch. And as a matter of fact, we had a guy that worked for us here, I think, that he moved over to another company, or he was with another company, and then he came over here, I'm not sure. And so he had automatic braking system on his truck, and he was in Wyoming during a snowstorm, and the automatic braking system kicked in, and he slid into a ditch, and he caused a pileup basically behind him because of that. So the next one is like the lane keep assist or whatever. Lane keep assist, I think, is a little bit better. However, there's never a time when you're driving a truck that you should be so distracted that you should not be able to keep your lane. Okay? Maybe it's windy, that's a different thing, but then there's a case in point. So let's say it's windy. Let's say it's real bad windy outside. Smoke. Let's say it's real bad windy outside, okay? And you decide, and you're driving along, and you drift a little bit this way. You should have a little bit of leeway to go over the line. Well, lane keep assist doesn't understand that it's windy outside. And so you go over the line, and it whips you back this direction, but a quick whip back that direction, hopefully it's not quick, because I've never driven it. Hopefully it's not quick, but, can cause you to lose control and flip over, depending on how the weight in your trailer is distributed. That's a possibility. Slow fluid movements, whether in trucking or flying an airplane, that's where I heard that term from. Slow fluid movements are movements that you should be making, whether you're driving a car, a truck, flying an airplane, or whatever. So movements with purpose and precision are really how to keep the truck upright and safe on the road. The guidance, the avoidance systems, if you're paying attention, you're going to avoid stuff. So I think that as technology progresses and we add these safety features onto trucks and cars and everything, what we're really doing is we're reducing the amount of skill necessary to operate a vehicle. And all vehicles are unsafe if operated incorrectly. It takes skill to drive a car, especially to drive a truck. And as we put these safety features on trucks and cars, what we're really doing is we're creating an environment where the driver of that vehicle is more likely to rely on the vehicle to brake the truck or to keep it in the lane or whatever. And the computer's isn't assessing the weather at the time or the conditions or whatever and making a better decision based on a number of different factors. As much as we love to think that computers are fantastic and artificial intelligence is around the corner and it's going to be just as good as a human being, right now, this computer right here is still the fastest computer in the world. And the human brain is able to make decisions at a much quicker rate. and to place common sense and physics and conditions and everything together to really kind of make a good decision about that. And as we add these safety features onto our trucks and cars, we're really breeding more and more reliance on technology to keep us safe and less reliance on the skill level of the operator to keep us safe. And I disagree with that. So anyway, that's my video for today. Yes, I know it's been a while since you saw from me. However, this is what I'm going to give you. I'm going to try to work on something. Matter of fact, as soon as I get done here, I'm probably going to go make a real quick TikTok video about the notice of intent or whatever, and then I'm gonna jump in the back and work on some other stuff. So anyway, you guys know the drill. Keep shining set up. See you down the road.